What's going on, guys? Got another knife review here for you. I'm really excited to be able to have played with this knife. This is my friend's knife. This is a Tuff Thumbs Switch. You guys know Tough Knives, Tough Thumbs from his channel, from all of his modding videos, all of his knife pimping that he'd done for, I think, years. And then in the past 2 years or so, I think he's been, doing his own run of knives, and it's just really cool, to be able to see the progression, the evolution of his knife company, really now, see him develop into a, very highly sought after knife maker. I think it's due to his personality. How easygoing he is and everything, and just the friends that he made in the knife community before he actually got into actual knife making. So, to be able to handle a switch, he started off making the Tough Toads, the friction folder, which for me I was like, I'm not really that interested in, especially at the price. And then he started to make the Tanics, which for me it was a cool knife, but with that extreme tanto finish and whatnot. Until I saw Skeleton's Warncliffe Tannic, which is, I think that's the best looking Tannic out there. For me, I still wasn't that interested in Geoff's knives. I would love to support him if I could, but for me, I wasn't that jazzed about his knives. And then he came out with a Switch. And to me, the Switch was the best design to date that he had made. I know he recently came out with another model which looked really nice, actually, if not even better than the Switch. But the Switch is just a really, really great knife. I can't say enough about this knife. I absolutely love this knife. The cool thing about Geoff is that literally no knife that he makes is the same as any other one that he's made. You get an Annex, they're more or less all the same, even though you have a custom grind and custom finish and whatnot. The frame, everything for the most part's the same. The pocket clips all the same. It's all machined via machine and whatnot. For the less Voorhees, yeah, a lot of them are slightly different, slight material differences or whatever, but the shapes, are more or less the same. Obviously, the Sebenza is going to be the same. Even here with the David Sharp for the frame horn, if he's got a clip point grind, he's got a Warncliffe grind like this one. There's still going to be the same. The frames are all the same. The pocket clips are all the same. They're all hand done, but they all follow kind of not a cookie cutter, finish, but there's really only like one design to it. Whereas for the Switch or the the Tanics and whatnot, they're all hand done. So, there's all these little nuances, whether it's the back spacers that are different, or if it's the pocket clips that's different, or you get different collars, or the blade shape. You get a harpoon clip on one, then you have, a drop point on another, or you have a hollow grind on one, or, everything is hand finished, which really makes, Geoff's work pretty special. All the little cutaways, relief cuts, on the spine. Everything's like hand done, without any CNC machining, or I would even say like, smart machinery. Like, you don't program anything in to do that. And, I think even for the Sharp, I think the same could be said for that. Everything is hand finished. But again, it follows I'm pretty sure he follows, the whether it's water jet or just a little model, because all the frame horns that you see, again, they're all the same. Whereas if you compare, switch to switch to switch, there's all kinds of little differences that you see in there. The flipper might be a little bit different. The choil might be bigger or smaller in them. So, again, that makes makes it special. You know, the steels. He's going to be experimenting with all different kinds of steels. That's what it seems like. You know, every time I see, you know, different ones come up, they're all different. All the pictures are different. So sometimes they'll have really ornate finishes, Timascus, whatever. So you know, I honestly credit that to Geoff and his work. You know, because everyone everyone really is personalized. And I don't want to say, you know, when I got this knife, you know, this is definitely a knife that's personalized for me, you know, from David. Um, and I'm ecstatic about this knife. You know, he put a Timascus spacer in there for me, you know, without me even knowing about it, which was just incredible. You know, this was the first bolster lock that he'd ever done with a flat, you know, on the Warncliffe. So yeah, there are personalized features on here, but again, the basic shape still is going to be the same as most other frame horns. So anyway, going back to that, you know, the switch is very different. This one's got XHP steel, CTS XHP steel on here. It's running on GTC bearings. It's got, you know, very simple, you know, finish, just titanium backspacer. I love this spacer that it's kind of like, you know, floating a little bit. Just the little cutaways on here it just adds a lot of flavor to this knife. In terms of pivot collars, it's got this kind of rough, unfinished look to it, which some people might hate. I think it looks really sharp. It really fits the overall feel of this knife. I mean, this entire thing is, you know, basically looks like it's acid stone washed all the way around. Titanium's been darkened, probably oxy-cleaned. The pocket clip is awesome. You know, it's contoured, 3D milled by hand, you know, not by machine. You know, all these little cutaways and whatnot. I just, you know, it's all done by hand. All the chamfering, or I guess, yeah, I guess you would call this chamfering, right? On here, just all contoured by hand, you know, which is just pretty awesome. In terms of smoothness, in terms of fit and finish, honestly, I think it's great. You know, just the slightest hint of, not even, barely anything on here. In terms of lock rock, no side to side. Bearings are super smooth. I mean, credit that to Gus and the GTC bearings. Centering is pretty good. I had to work on the knife a little bit. You know, my friend allowed me to do that, so I kind of fixed the centering up a little bit, so the lockup's a little earlier. The flipper design, I really love this flipper design. Kind of a little bit reminiscent of like a birch, kind of the more squared flipper. I didn't know how this would be, but you know, this one works perfectly. Whether you light switch it, or this one's more of like a button push with the detent the way it is. But you know, the harpoon tip on this blade I think is really sharp. Allows for you, there's no there's jimping up here, but you know, you're not going to really hold your knife this far back. So you know, here it's just a relief, you know, and so there's no jimping on the blade. But when you choke up with this choil and then your hand sits on here at the tip of that harpoon, gosh, it just feels so good. It just, this is the most organic knife that I've ever been able to handle. You know, my friend let me borrow a bunch of his knives. The Decepticon, this knife, a Boker, a Benchmade 7505, Andre de Villiers, as well as the Redention 228 from Ramon Chavez. The Redention was nice, but you know, it's totally symmetrical and you know, all machine cut and whatnot. You know, this one again, it just has this amazing organic feel to it. And the only real one that's comparable to that is my David Sharp. You know, even though, like I was saying, you know, all the frame horns are going to look similar. The fact that this is all, you know, done by hand, it's got, I don't know, I guess slightly organic curves and whatnot, but in terms of feel and hand, you know, the only one that can compare, you know, to the Switch is that David Sharp. So, but yeah, I don't know what to say, man. Geoff has come such a long way, to be honest, from his days of just pimping. And having a feel of this switch, if you ever get a chance to handle, I mean, again, my favorite model so far has been his switch. I don't know if I would have raved that much if I was handling a Tannic and whatnot, but just handling this knife as in its simplest form. I mean, this is so basic. It's just XHP steel with titanium, but everything hand done, hand contoured, and pocket clip, and even like the little finish on the cut, lock bar cutout. It's really cool, and so it just makes me really want a switch, with potentially some ornate finishes and whatnot. And if I ever get the chance to get on Geoff's books, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, because they're probably all booked. But if I ever had the chance, I would jump on that like gangbusters. So honestly, Geoff, I can't say enough about this knife. I don't know if you're gonna ever see this review. Hopefully you do, because you definitely deserve the credit that you've received thus far. The only thing that I had against this knife was how close the blade sits against the handle. You can see I'm almost holding it horizontal to the camera. You can see how much of that blade sticks out. So it doesn't go past here, but even as I slide my thumb, just like right there, the pad of my thumb is running against the blade. So luckily my thumb skin is thick enough from all the flipping that it doesn't affect it. But I can imagine bearing, if you're bearing down this way, and I've cut myself on knives that way every once in a while. And so I don't know that, and I would probably guarantee that that's not the case for the other switches, again, because they're all different. But this one in particular just has that little edge, a little bit too close to the spine. So anyway, that's my only little beef about this knife. So size comparison, it's not that big of a knife. It's what, 3¼ inch blade, or maybe about 3.5. But you get so much blade that fits into this handle as well. You see that right there. It sits at the pretty much almost to the very end, so you get a lot of blade for the handle, and it's a very comfortable handle as well. So you can see how much shorter it is compared to the Sabenza or even the frame horn next to the Annex. Shorter, even the Voorhees might be a little bit. It's about the same, I think. So the very Les puts a lot of blade in his knives as well, like that. So you can see that there. All right. So anyway, that's my take on the Tuffknives Switch. If you guys get a chance, get one. Don't miss out. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next vid.